Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, the Executive Director of Rock Solid Families.
And I'm Merrill Hutchinson, President of Rock Solid Families. And we are excited to have you join us as we talk all things faith, family, and fitness. A special thanks to Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency for their support of Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community one family at a time.
Welcome to Rock Solid Radio. I am Linda Hutchinson, the Executive Director of Rock Solid Families, and we are coming to you, once again in the middle of the coronavirus quarantine. And I'm here with my
still at it.
My favorite quarantine partner, my husband Merle.
Yes, well, thank you, and vice versa.
Vice versa.
Right back at you.
That's right. Yeah. But today's show, is not going to be about Corona.
Yeah, well, we talked about this. We need to take a Corona break, not to diminish the seriousness of it or anything like that, but I think as our little one said the other day, I was listening to the news as we were driving down the road, and it was standard kind of talk radio, and all they were talking about was Corona stuff, and he just, as serious as could be, looked at me and just said, "Dad, can we listen to something else? This is just getting to be too much."
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it is a lot for so many people, and it's overwhelming, and it's causing this stress. So today's show, we're going to focus on dreaming, because I know that's your favorite thing.
I'm good at that. Yeah,
you're the dreamer in our family, that's for sure. But keeping the dream alive, I know I love to dream, and honey, you are greater at this. I would love to ask out there in Radio Land, in Rock Solid Radio Land, who's the dreamer in your family? Whether it's you or not, we all need that space and that freedom to dream. And it helps us, to get up the next day.
Well, there's so many different things that happen when we're talking about dreaming. We're not talking about REM sleep dreaming either.
No.
Okay, we're talking about just getting vision, having goals, dreaming about where you are now and maybe where you want to be. These kinds of things, and so the reason why those are good and we find them just exciting is that. It gives you a little surge of dopamine, the adrenaline starts to flow, and you start to see what you're going to be doing.
Right.
It gives
focus.
you purpose.
Right. Yeah.
So
we're going to be talking about that. So it's going to be a good show. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, but we better get on purpose.
Yes, for sure. Let's do some sponsors.
Let's do that.
Yeah. We first want to thank Mansfield Insurance Agency. They've built a reputation in business on caring, listening, and protecting their customers, especially during times like this. Mansfield Insurance Agency began in 1981 by Jim Mansfield and is dedicated to serving individuals and businesses in Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. So if you have any kind of insurance need, call Mansfield Insurance Agency today, 1-800-230-3927.
All right, we'd also like to thank Maxwell Construction. Maxwell Construction was founded in 1988 by John Maxwell. Since that time, Maxwell Construction has grown and expanded to become among the most recognized commercial construction companies in the tri-state area. What separates Maxwell Construction apart from their competition is their emphasis on being service-oriented to help meet the individual needs of their customers. So whether it's a school, hospital, restaurant, apartment, or retail center, Maxwell Construction is able to meet your needs. Call Maxwell Construction today at 812-537-2200.
Yeah, we also want to continue to offer our services free of charge during the whole month of April of 2020. No cost, no strings. If you need someone to talk to right now in this middle of this real unsettling time, if you need someone just to listen, please call us. Our office is still open, even though we're not meeting clients here in our office, but you can call us. We are at our office, 812-576-ROCK. That's 812-576-7625. Or you can always contact us through our website, rocksolidfamilies.org.
Yeah, it's we're doing business, just doing it very differently. And a lot of times, whether they're Zoom conferences or just phone calls, those are things that we try to keep offering and doing. I know also, hon, you are working your Healthy Boundaries class. You want to explain a little bit about how you're getting that out there?
So I was going to be teaching this class live at a local church, but obviously we're all in quarantine. So we have a weekly virtual class on YouTube called Healthy Boundaries Corona Style. It's available on our Rock Solid Families YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search Rock Solid Families. We talk week after week about what it takes to maintain healthy relationships, even in the middle, hon, of a worldwide pandemic.
Yeah. So also, don't forget that we are still doing our 2 weekly podcasts, our Rock Solid Radio, which is this show, and also Kyle Crawford, my partner, we are doing our Strong Dads podcast. And so those are still great opportunities to get out, just hear something different other than just Corona stuff. Actually, Kyle and I did something different as well the other day. We had a really cool guest, Alex Harbin, who owns Iron Sharpens Iron Gym over in Norwood. And so he was a fantastic guest, and just so it's something different and hopefully inspiring and gets your dreams moving for what you guys want to do.
Yeah. And this show has a great shelf life, as well as all of our other shows and classes and stuff. And so even if you're listening to this show 6 months from now, a year from now, there still is a lot of resources, hon, on our website through the podcast channels that you go to. And this, including this one, I believe, hon, even in this world we're living in, a worldwide pandemic, it's always important to dream, to have goals. It's the very thing that's going to help us get through this. You know?
Right. And it's, even our kids who are struggling right now, as we talked about in previous shows, they're struggling because they lack purpose. And we're trying to help get their imaginations going on days that they can get outside. It was cool down there the other day just to see our little one building a fort.
Yep.
And, it doesn't really matter even what the fort looks like. The idea that he's kind of got a vision in his head, and he's trying to carry it out, and he's making mistakes, and it doesn't look perfect, but he's pounding away at this thing. And it was a great energy release, but it also had his brain working.
Sure. He's dreaming of a fort.
Yeah, and he was excited. I mean, it was like time to call him in for dinner because he was just working hard all day at it.
Yeah. Hon, Rick Warren, and many of you know about Rick Warren, the Purpose Driven Life, great pastor out at Saddleback Church in California. He's quoted in saying this, and I love this, and I think it's really going to be for what we talk about today. He said, "I've come to the conclusion that there is no such thing as great people. There are only ordinary people committed to great dreams." And that's exactly who Jesus used, by the way. He used ordinary, unschooled men as his disciples. And so I think, you have to first decide, though, are you going to pursue the American dream, or you can pursue God's dreams?
Well, what's the difference between the American dream and God's dream?
That's a great question. And so I think that, Rick Warren was talking about great dreams are ones that align with God and his word. So if you don't know God and his word, then you're going to be kind of lost, right? You're going to be kind of just drifting and not knowing. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future." So, that is where God wants us to be, in the line of his will. So it's hard to know what that is. So we're going to kind of help, I think, give you some guidelines of how to pursue God's dreams for your life.
That is a tough one, hon, because as you said more towards the front of the show, I am a dreamer, but dreaming can cause frustration. And part of that is you have dreams and you get excited about them and they don't come together. And then you start to question, was my dream about me, or was I not aligned with God's will on this? And so, and again, we don't really know all the answers to those because sometimes, the scripture is very clear about perseverance, not giving up on your dream.
Yep.
So sometimes there can be a frustration with it, but I think dreams are things that go from your mind and are laid on your heart.
Yeah.
And when your heart starts pumping, getting excited for that, and especially if it doesn't counter God's word.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, it's not in a conflict with God's word.
Right.
So I see that Rick's got some different steps that we go through in the dreaming process. So explain a little bit of that to me.
So if you have a piece of paper, I think it's a great time to get a piece of paper out and write number one. Number one is to get a dream. And how do you know what that dream is? Well, look at your gifts. Look at your passion. What gets you up and fired up in the day? What are your experiences? What has God allowed in your life that he could possibly use for his glory? How do you know you're on the right track? I think you got to go back to Romans 12:2. It says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. So if you're kind of following the American dream and, you got those shiny new cars in your driveway and the big old house, like the biggest one on the street, and you're chasing that dollar sign, that's probably not going to be God's dreams for your life.
Yeah. There's also an interesting thing going on here, hon, and I've just expressed this to you before. I enjoy dreaming, okay? But there have definitely been segments in my life where I'll even say to you, I'm not dreaming. Like, where's my vision gone? And I have always found that it's connected to stress. It's connected to being overworked. If you already have 1,000 things on your plate, your ability to dream actually even is worse because you don't want another dream. It's another
like,
thing on
time.
your plate.
Yeah.
And so the idea of getting your mind right means that you've got to have some space.
Yes, white space.
And so right now people are stressed, but this is also a great time to get a little space in your mind.
Yes, I agree.
Because there is, not for everybody, but for a lot of us, there's some boredom going on. And so open that space up right now.
And that's why I love this show, hon. I'm so excited about this show because, man, we have such an opportunity. Like, if you want to really figure out what God wants in your life, spend some time with him. Go take a day, get away, get alone with God, dig into his word, be still, listen to what he says through his word, allow him to speak to you, and he'll help you find a direction.
Yeah, in many ways, this is kind of a forced retreat.
Exactly.
And again, it's really, and as we're talking about, we're just trying to help you remember that and think about it and go, you know what, this is a time for me to recalibrate. To hit the reset button, if you will.
Love that. Actually, honey, that's funny you said that because we were checking in on some of our Rock Solid family clients and family. We call them really our family, and just seeing how they were doing. And one of our clients, who's just oh my gosh, he's such a wise soul. I just love his heart. And he literally said that. He said, I feel like I'm on this forced retreat with God and I'm loving it. And I was like, God, we all need to be in that place where we just really relish the opportunity to really rethink, reset, recalibrate, and focus what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So the next part of this, and is once we really start to work through that dream, is the decision making.
Yeah.
Right. So explain to me what your take is on the decision, because I have some take on this as well, because we've talked about what we're going to do with the decision.
Right. And so that means you are going to take a step out of that boat. You are going to be willing to say maybe to somebody else, hey, this is my dream. I think I'm going to pursue this, and this is what I want to do. I want your help. I want your support and encouragement. I want you to hold me accountable to it. This is what I say I want to do. Go back to school, start a new career, get baptized, start a new life with Christ. I don't know, but whatever that decision is that you just, you make a commitment, you put a stake in the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we talked about this in an earlier show about goals and living with intention. Goals do not mean much if you don't have daily intention towards those. And dreams are a type, just a different word in many ways, as
a goal.
Right. And so if you don't have a decision made and the intention behind it, that's another thing that can actually cause frustration.
Yeah.
For kids, maybe not as much, but we see people, especially in their mid-20s to mid-30s, where they're dreaming, they're gonna make the career, they're gonna have the family, they're gonna have the marriage, all of this, and the dream is awesome, right? But all of a sudden they get into their 40s, and they haven't started on the
Right,
dream.
no action.
Yeah, there's not been the action, and at that point, that's a reality check, and that can be a very, very tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, and we talk about this around our dinner table all the time. If you say you want to be a professional football player and you're not even playing football or working out, then good luck with that.
Yeah.
You really haven't made a decision to action, and that's what we're talking about there. But, hun, there are delays.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have delays. God's timing is not your timing. So maybe you wanted to get into college, but you didn't get into the college you wanted. And so there's a delay there. Do you go a different path? Do you try again next year? You know, there is going to be delays, and you got to trust that God is involved even in the delays.
Yeah, well, delays also, hon, I think, let you know how important the dream is or is not.
Yeah.
If you have a little setback and it turns into a shutdown, then the dream must not have had much strength behind it.
Yeah.
And so that we've had certain dreams. Rock Solid Families is one of those. It was something that was dreamt of. Whatever that was, 7-8 years
before
ago.
It happened.
And, you know, there definitely, there were a lot of things that happened between the time that we had the dream up until about a year and a half or so ago when we actually got rolling. And so, but the idea that the dream wouldn't easily die.
Right.
Let you and I know, must be something behind this.
Yeah. And so there are going to be tests, by the way. So this is number 4. So we got dream, we got the decision to action, we got delays, which would be number 3. Number 4 is tests and challenges. And that's when our faith muscles really are grown and strengthened the most, I think. It's when the weight of your life is not, if the weight of life is not pressed up against it, it's not going to grow those muscles. And so there are going to be tests.
Yeah, so for me, and part of this is like, okay, I've got the dream.
Yeah.
I'm all excited. It starts to get launched, and then like there's stupid stuff you have to do that is not of your interest, like setting up a corporation. You know, the actual business side of it. Those are those challenges and stuff that you go, okay, I just have to kind of push through this part.
Yeah, and there's going to be, this is number 5. There's going to be dead ends. You're going to face rejection. You're going to hit roadblocks. But you can't forget what God has already done for you. You got to stay the course. You got to focus on his promises. You got to lean into God. And maybe you were misaligned. Maybe that wasn't his dream for you. And he does turn the corner to a different, but sometimes it's going to be a matter of experiencing those dreams come true in a way you never experienced or understood. You know, maybe your circumstances change. Okay. So this is number 6. This would be the deliverance. This would be the reality coming true, the dream coming true. It may be that the circumstances change, but it may be you change. That maybe that roadblock was what God was trying to do to change you.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah, whether it was pride or ego or a limitation that you had, something along that line.
Yeah, and there may be, hon, and this is the reality of life on this earth, is that this place is not our home. That our eternal life, our final destination is really God's ultimate dream for our life. And so if we don't see the dream on earth that we want, there is an eternal dream that we will receive if we are faithful to him.
The dream, you know, we talk about this a lot in the goal setting because I think sometimes your dream is of your vision, but sometimes the process, the road to
the
it
journey.
is just as, if not more important than actually reaching that because of the refinement, the growth, the maturity. So there are many things that you won't actually get to see. Moses did not get to see the promised land, but he got to see so much basic development in faith and development of a people, you know, the Israelites. And so just sometimes you have to step back and go, okay, wait, let's look at the whole process here of what we've gained.
I've always struggled with that story of Moses. You know?
It just doesn't seem fair.
Oh my gosh, it's like all these years of faithfulness to him, and then the Lord did not allow him to see the promised land on earth, but he did ultimately receive, we know, he received the ultimate promised land of heaven. So in this time of crisis, hon, this worldwide pandemic, I think it is so important to keep our dreams alive. We need to set goals. We need to have dreams because I believe it's going to help us in this crisis. And the first thing I know is that it's going to help trigger us with new behaviors. It's going to help us eat better, save money, go back to school, look for a new job, learn a new skill. Hun, one of our clients just recently told me that it's a young couple, they want to purchase a new home. And their first home, and they've been dreaming about it, and they've been looking online for houses, and they found a couple they like. But man, this pandemic has actually triggered them to start some new habits to get to their dream. They're going to take their stimulus check and they're going to bank it in the bank instead of blowing it on something, because they want a new house down payment. Yeah. They're going to not eat. They're not eating out, so they're saving money at home, and they're making smart decisions. So they're seeing a dream that they want.
Well, we do know that seasons, change in literal seasons, are opportunities for us to have a fresh start, whether it's New Year's Day, whether it's the fall season to the winter season,
new
or
school year.
spring coming into summer, as we see right now. And so this COVID-19 has been a forced season change in our life. From our we have become a very much soft in many ways, entitled kind of people. And again, you and I both, we're in that. We've got many comforts, and you fall into it, and all of a sudden this season has made us go, what are we going to do with this? Okay. And you and I, hon, we use this terminology frequently, but it just can't go away, because this is probably the biggest thing that you are going to see in helping you get where you want to be in life. Are you going to be a victim or a victor? Are you, what are you going to do? Are you going to own it? We had a little talk around our house the other day about discipline equals freedom, And the Navy former Navy SEAL Jocko, and if anybody follows him, he's written an entire book and dedicated his life to the idea of what discipline. He wakes up at 4:30 every morning because it gives him freedom. Not because he likes it, but because it gives him freedom. And again, this is that same idea. We have an opportunity here to reset.
Yeah. And goals, having a dream, keeping that dream alive increases our motivation. We have something to work forward to, right? Especially right now when we want to lay on that couch and we want to sleep late. We've got lots of seniors, hon, right now, high school seniors right now, who are really struggling. And many have reached out to us, actually, because they were on track to graduate with honors or maybe earn a scholarship. And they're ready to flush it all down the toilet because they've stopped dreaming. They're struggling to keep that dream alive. And so we encourage all of you out there, especially our students who are right now feeling like they just got robbed of the end of their school year, the end of their high school career. Please keep those dreams alive. Where do you want to be next year at this time? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Pick those dreams back up, work toward them, get up in that morning, get your workout going, get your computer up, finish those assignments for e-learning, visualize it, write them down, post it somewhere where you can see it every day. Put it on your mirror if you have to. Maybe it's the college you want to get into. Put a picture of it up there, something to visualize and motivate you.
And I think that's so important. In our technology age that we're in, we even tend to write stuff, in our phone or whatever. That is not as valuable as, just as you said, writing it down on a piece of paper.
Yeah, putting it in front of your face.
Putting it in front of your face. The idea that you go through that process is so important, and go old school on this, because it'll really make you just think more, and it has to go from your brain to your hand, and it's just really more powerful.
But hon, like I said, I am talking to those seniors in high school right now that feel like they got robbed. And like you said, do you want to be a victim? Or are you going to be victorious over this? Are you going to use this to God's glory and your future success? Do not sit on that couch and think it's over, because Satan wins on that one.
It's not what people want to hear, but when they come into Rock Solid Families, we are very much about, we're going to give you a moment to mourn. But only a moment.
Right.
Because now is the time for you to actually refocus your life and get to a place that you never dreamt. Maybe you're not going to get from point A to B with the route that you initially chose, but it doesn't mean you can't get from A to B.
You still can see your dream come true.
Yeah.
Hon, I also think, and this is why we're talking about this today, that having dreams, having goals helps you to have good mental health. It helps you have momentum in life, even when the world around you is shutting down. Hun, I had a client, you know her, that had dealt with some health issues for years, and she's battled this. And then she had an outside challenge where a family member was dying in front of her, and it was just consuming her and her family. And so it was so tough for her just to feel like she can get up out of bed and have any kind of dream or purpose in her life. And so together we started to dream about where does she see herself in a year, because her family member was going to be gone. And we had to help her to get some dreams back in her life, just to give her something to motivate her, to give her that good mental health that she so desperately needed.
Yeah. And again, as you said, this is just part of good mental health.
Yeah.
It's giving that brain purpose. We've always said, if you give the brain a problem and you identify it, your brain will go after that. I mean, and with our own kids, we work really hard on saying, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Figure it out, solve it, rather than us giving you the dream.
Right. I think that we all need perspective right now. This isn't going to be forever. I know we're going to have some new normals and some different things that we're going to have to do in our society after this is over. But we have to remember it's not always going to be this way. And God is going to use this, if we allow him to grow and refine us.
Yeah, and absolutely. We've talked before about how are you going to remember this time, and no one's trying to minimize that this is or is not a difficult time, but it is a different time as well, and it's a different time that allows you to use a whole different mindset and skill sets, whatever it is. We've seen our friends start new businesses and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Because, hey, it's a different mindset, it's a different skill set. They've done a career jump completely into a completely different field, from a health medical field to an artistic field.
Right.
And it's like, wow, that's just amazing stuff.
It really does. It helps it guide and align your focus to where you want to go. You're talking about a friend of mine who calls it her chapter 2 in life. She had a career in the healthcare industry, which great time to hop out now, and started a dream of art and design. And she is loving life, but it's a dream that she's been praying about for over a decade. She asked some friends, to pray about with her. And to see that come to a reality, I'm so excited and happy for her. But that's because she really was laser focused, especially during this time of waiting and kind of isolation, to kind of jump and launch it.
Right. Well, and again, we're making lemonade out of lemons.
That's right. I think that was another show.
Yes. So anyway, let's move into our challenge.
Yeah.
And talk about, as we have fun with the topic of dreaming and working through all of the things that we've talked about, the good of it and just the benefits of it. What is a challenge that we can actually throw out there to our folks that makes this turn into a practical exercise?
Right. Not just lip service.
Right.
I think it is taking this time of change and isolation, not as a bad thing, hun, but as a time to reevaluate and reprioritize. I've heard so many people talk about, what do you want to put back in your life when life goes back to quote unquote normal? Like, how much of that normal do you want back? Do you want that rat race? Hun, we've had so many clients come in our office as 2-income families, and they have been stressed and overwhelmed, and their marriage was on the brink, their family was in crisis. And so you kind of really have to decide, is that what I want back in my life?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a great point. We've also seen some changes that at first we weren't happy about. But now we're going, this is actually better. And one for us in our home was, we decided when the kids were going to be shut out of school, that they were not going to be able to watch TV all day.
Yeah.
And so our TV doesn't come on until about 8 o'clock in the evening, and it's just for a short time. And it wasn't out of a punishment. It was for the idea that we just did not want them to see, because the TV dreams for you.
Right.
You're living
shuts
through
down your
somebody,
dreams,
right, and you don't get to do the dreaming.
Right.
And so our kids would just stare at that. And we have found, by shutting that TV out, you know what? When this is all over, that TV's not coming back on like it used to be.
People are blown away, by the way, that our TV doesn't go on till evening, or our screen time is limited. Our kids are, have a very limited screen time on their phones and stuff. And we just believe that just cuts out this dreaming time.
Now, that does not mean our kids always like it.
No,
And
they
that's
don't.
not the point here.
No.
The point is that They're having to be more resourceful.
Right.
They're having to dream. They're having to do different things. And that is the exercise here.
By the way, that's true for us adults too.
Absolutely.
Even if you're empty nesters in your home that could sit on the TV all day or the phone all day, if you're going to do that, then your dreaming's going to shut down. So turn that junk off. I'll never forget one of the most impactful times of my life were when our office actually shut down once a month or once every couple months, and we had a dream day, and we were told not to totally unplug and to spend the day with the Lord. And I'm telling you what, that was such a powerful day. I'll never forget going on the 8 Mile Trail at Whitewater, Miami Whitewater Park, and just literally walking and praying and dreaming. And it was powerful to this day.
Yeah, it's good stuff. That's that retreat kind of thing that we talked about. Okay, so anyway, let's get out and let's do something different. Obviously, sunny days, warm days make it even better, but don't let yourself get trapped by even a cloudy, gloomy day, okay?
Yeah.
Get out there and let's do something different.
Sure.
All right, we better say thanks to our sponsors again here.
Yeah,
okay?
as we close, we just want to thank again our sponsors for today's show. A huge thank you to Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency. Please let them know that you appreciate this programming, letting them know that you're listening. We hope you'll share this show with your family and friends. Man, especially if you have some teenagers, young adults right now who are feeling like a victim, please share the show. And thanks again so much for continuing to listen to Rock Solid Radio.
Building a stronger community, one family at a time. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. For help or more information about what you've heard on today's show, contact us at rocksolidfamilies.org or call us at 812-576-ROCK. That's 812-576-ROCK. Again, a huge thanks to our sponsors, Maxwell Construction and Mansfield Insurance Agency. If you have questions you'd like answered on our show or you want to chime in on something you heard, go to our Facebook page, Rock Solid Families. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of Rock Solid Radio. I'm Linda Hutchinson, and for my husband Merrill and I, thanks for tuning in to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time.